What's up, Performance Marketer Nation? Today we're going to talk about 21 mistakes you want to avoid when you're building a survey. So let's dive in now. So when people are building surveys, people think they just throw up any questions they want, but there are patterns. There are ways you can go about doing this the right way so that you're going to see success immediately. And what I've done is I've listed out a bunch of mistakes that I see people making. For my specific trainings, I have a technique that I teach people that's very specific. And there's a lot of things that go into building out the survey. But you can be innovative and do other things. You don't have to follow just my technique and things work. But you want to avoid these mistakes because these mistakes come up and they hurt performance time in, time out. And unfortunately, unless you know it, you're going to fall into that trap. So today I want to tell you a little bit about what that looks like. And now you'll know for the next time that you build a survey on what you should do or what you should look to avoid. All right. So let's dive in. All right. So 21 mistakes to avoid when building your survey. Could be your assessment, could be your quiz, doesn't matter. Everybody uses different names. They're all the same thing. At the end of the day, it's just about what's the end goal, which we'll get to. So, number one, people don't understand who they're surveying. So, need to know the who. It's obvious, right? You would think that's obvious, but believe it or not, people are just firing out surveys and they're not really sure who it is they're trying to survey, what they're trying to learn about. So the number one thing before you even get started is you need to make sure you know who it is that you're trying to talk to. All right? So number two, you want to score your leads. When people are coming in and filling out your surveys, you want to understand who to listen to and who not to listen to, especially when you're doing more on the research side. When you're investigating, you need to identify the highest quality of lead, the person that's going to be buying your stuff, the diehard person, right? And those are the people you're going to want to take their opinion at a higher value than somebody else that really won't ever buy any of your products. For example, if a wedding dress company was out surveying on their opinion about different types of wedding dresses from a comfort level, then it wouldn't really make a lot of sense for me to be giving my opinion on that. And if I did and went through and gave them my opinion, if they actually are going to make decisions off of what I'm telling them, they're going to be leading down the wrong path because I'm not the person that's going to be purchasing this item. Does that make sense? So you want to score your leads. And we have different algorithms on how we do that. In our system, in Survey Detective, what we try to do is we try to create quantitative analysis at any given point in time. We try to put some sort of number to what you're doing to give yourself an idea of if you're in the right place or not, if you're moving in the right direction. So you want to score it. Number three is you want to make sure that your segments are evenly distributed. So what does that mean? What that means is if you're going to break out your segments into 4 pieces, in the best case scenario, you're going to have leads in each of those segments broken out to about 25% each. If you had 3 segments, 33% each. 5 segments, 20% each. That isn't a perfect world. It's never going to happen. But what you want to do is you want to avoid having 1 or 2 groups having 40, 50% plus of your leads. If you're doing that, you're taking away, you're diluting the efficacy of what this survey is doing for you. The segmentation survey is allowing you to customize your message. And if everybody's falling into that same group, then you need to go back and resegment your target markets, allowing you to now create more of a custom message to each of the people that are coming through. So you just want to keep an eye on it. And the way you do that is simple, right? You look, if you had 100 leads, right? And you had 4 segments, 25 people each. If you had 100 leads and you have 75 people in one, that's way too many. You're going to want to go in and break that up and segment off of the 75 people in that segment. Okay? So you want to try to even out your segments as much as possible. And what happens is you'll slowly, break it up. Over time, you can get more and more specific. And the more dialed in you are, the more relevant you are, and the more you're going to close. So that's an important one. Number 4, you want your segments to be different. Okay? You want them to be different. No 2 should be the same. What does that mean? When you ask a question and you're going to have one primary segmentation question, you don't want somebody landing on that question where they can fit into more than one of those segments. They have to be extremely different. If I can answer a question and I can be in one or the other, then I didn't do a good enough job of segmenting, and I need to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to make each one of them extremely unique where there's no other option except for that specific segment. Okay? Number 5. Your hooks must create curiosity. So the beauty of this is that the powerful thing about surveys is all about people being able to learn things about themselves. They're able to create some self-awareness around what's going on in their lives. So you want to do something where you get someone interested in learning more about them. So it's, what cook type are you? Who do you match from all the superheroes in the Avengers that's most like how you run your business, right? Like you're just coming up with different ideas on what's your entrepreneur score, things like that, right? So the idea is the hook is really the type of survey you're going to be using, and that is what's going to get somebody to start clicking. What we do is we create a poll, right? With the ability in Survey Detective to create a poll, and you list a bunch of the hooks that you're thinking about using, and you take that poll, you share it with your audience, and you ask them, hey, I'm thinking about running a survey. What would be most interesting to you to learn more about? And you show them a few and let them vote. And that'll help you with deciding on, which one you want to go out with. But you can always test multiple ones and put them together and see which ones perform better. But if you're not sure over time, that's the idea. But so your hooks, it's just all around creating something compelling, something that will get somebody curious so that they can learn more about themselves. Everybody's selfish, right? Number 6, your start page. I see people just have this start page, even if you have your curiosity, which is great. They don't tell you what's going on. You want to be upfront and give these people an understanding of what's the goal, how long is the survey, like what are you going to do with the responses that you're getting from these surveys. All of this stuff needs to be told on the front end so that there's no surprises and people feel like they understand what's going on, so they'll be more willing to take this survey. Number 7, use the right incentive. You can incentivize somebody to take your survey or to enter their information, but you want to be really specific on what you do, what you give away, because that's going to help you with the quality of the traffic that you're getting into your surveys or signing up for your surveys. And the idea is around people who offer $50 gift card or an iPad or a Mac computer. And that's very general, and anybody would want that. So there's like these professional survey takers out there that will just go and sign up just to try to get whatever the prize is. You don't want that. What you want to do is you want to make something very specific that's of value to your audience, to your diehards, right? So in a scenario like for me, I could give away a 9-day killer email sequence that has made me millions and millions of dollars that I'm going to give to you, that all you really need to do is just swap out my name for your name, right? It's proven, it's working. Someone that's not interested in that, in my world, won't sign up. They won't go through the process because they don't really care about that, right? So the idea is to give something away that's of intrinsic value to your diehards, right? So no iPads. Brings down your quality. Number 8 is you want your surveys to be responsive to all devices. So before you launch your survey, make sure it works on mobile, tablets, desktop. You know, what happens, and it's interesting, I'll run into this a lot, when I'm building my surveys, when I'm going through the process and I'm looking at it, I'm always working off of my computer and I'm looking at it based off of the desktop. But the majority of my traffic, over 85 to 90% of my traffic is from mobile. But I'm putting so much time and effort into the desktop. And then I go over to look at the mobile and the font's off, or it's something is below the fold that I don't want. So it's very important to make sure that, one, it's responsive, and that the look and feel is working towards the majority of where you're getting your traffic. Number 9 is 1 question per page. I see a lot of people doing these surveys where there's a lot of questions on one page. It's overwhelming. You want to create these micro commitments. You want to be able to get somebody to see one question, focus on that one question one at a time, start getting them to click, getting them to engage. Early on in your survey, you want to have the questions that are more of a easy, simple question to answer so that they start and they feel like they're making progress. Right? So you want to have 1 question per page. You don't want to overwhelm your audience. Number 10. I see this. Have a clear and concise outcome goal. When you're surveying, you're not just asking people questions just to ask people questions. You have a reason. You have to have a reason. You have to know what it is. What's the goal at the end that you're trying to accomplish? So are you trying to get somebody to book a call? Watch a webinar? Buy a guide or an ebook? Like, you need to understand what it is that you want out of the people coming through your survey, right? You got to have a clear and concise outcome. And you need to know exactly what it is you're doing, because you're going to start from the outcome and work backwards. And that's how you build your surveys, right? So, number 11, less is more. You don't want to have tons of questions, right? You want to overwhelm somebody. You don't have 100 questions, especially if you're trying to drive traffic from a cold lead, right? If you have somebody that purchased something from you and then you want to get more information, they've already paid, they're invested, different, completely different. And you can certainly ask more questions because now they'll take the time to fill it out. But if you're trying to generate some leads from people that don't know who you are, less is more. If you can remove a question and still get the same outcome, then do it, right? The more questions you have, the higher percentage that someone is going to drop off before they complete the entire survey, right? So, number 12, you don't want to lead a person in a question. Do not lead a person in asking the question. Example would be, how bad did you think that event was? Really bad? Terrible? Not so bad? I liked it? You don't want to lead somebody down a path of asking them based off of it was bad. You want to, you're just not going to get the same results, right? So when it comes to the event that you just went to, how would you compare it to all the other events you've been at? In regards to the event that you were just at, what were your thoughts? What did you think of it, right? And then you ask, just be completely general and let them tell you what they're thinking. Do not use absolutes. You don't want to use anything about always, all the time, yes, no. You're going to start to confuse people, right? If, like, example, do you read books? Yes or no? Well, okay, great. You got that, but like, what does that mean? Like, do you read books once a week? Do you read books once a month? So you want to get some detail and get them answering questions where there's not an always or all the time type answer, right? So how often do you read books? I read books at least once a week. I read books once a month. I read books on vacation. I don't really read books, but I read every day online blogs and articles, right? So you're trying to learn more about the consumer. So don't use any absolutes of always, all the time, etc. Right? 14, do not leave room for interpretation. So when you're asking a question, you want to be able to explain what you're looking to learn from that person or identify where they belong. So as an example, if you were to ask a question like, what entrepreneur can you most relate to, right? And the answers are Oprah, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, or Jeff Bezos. Well, I may perceive Oprah very differently than you perceive Oprah. So what you want to do is you want to list Oprah, but then you want to go into some details. So the right way to do it would be Oprah, and then you could bold that out, because if someone's there right off the bat, they see it, boom, they're Oprah, they relate, they get it. Or you go into some detail after you write Oprah with, she's someone who believes you should be true to yourself. She believes that if you haven't failed, you haven't walked. And there's no such thing as failure. She believes that you should follow your gut and make your own luck. right? Versus Mark Zuckerberg would be someone that has a vision and that sticks to their vision. And for him, it's not about money. Money never really mattered. And he's also somebody that likes to work in comfortable clothes, where he'll wear a hoodie, right? So it's whatever it is you're trying to get out of the person that you want to learn about them. You want to go into detail about when you're trying to make comparisons, right? So you don't want to leave any room for any interpretation. And number 15, that is, do not make assumptions. No assumptions. Don't assume that people know something. Don't assume that they understand something. You need to be very clear in the questions and answers and what you're talking about and how you're going about doing it, because you have no idea who's going through that survey and where they are and what stage they're at in their personal situation. Number 16 is do not ask two questions in one. In one question. Okay. So, as an example, someone might ask, when it comes to our coaching program, how do you feel we're doing in regards to our service and the quality of the trainings? Right there, you ask two questions. So you're not going to get the right answer. You don't know. Are they going to answer how your service is doing, or are they going to answer how is the quality of your trainings? So what you want to do is you want to break it up. So you normally do, in regards to our coaching program, how are we doing in regards to servicing you? Then another question, in how do you feel the quality of the trainings are in our coaching program? You want to break it up, right? Be very clear. Number 17. I see people not give enough options. So they'll ask a question like, how long have you been in business? And they'll say, the answers will be 1 to 3 years, 3 to 10 years, 10 years plus. Well, they left out less than 1 year or haven't started their business yet. So you need to make sure that you have all of the options covered. You can't leave out certain items. Otherwise, it's just going to be confusing to the customer and it may not relate to everybody that's coming through your flow. Even if you don't want to work with someone who doesn't have a business or is, just starting their business, you still want to have a place for them to be able to answer the questions accurately so that you now can look at your database and understand who belongs where. And you never know, people that are just starting their business, you might want to reach out to in a year or two from now. Right? So you may wait a year and then reach out and follow up to see how their business is doing, right? And they then may be relevant. Number 18, the format is extremely essential. Format of your questions. When you're trying to learn and investigate, you'll have some open-ended answers. Open-ended meaning that you don't give multiple choice. You're allowing somebody to write in what they think in their own words. And that's huge for when you're investigating. You always want to do that. But when you're getting into your segmentation funnels, you don't want open-ended questions. It's going to be, one, it's going to increase your drop-off rate. And two is when you're segmenting, all you're doing is you're just trying to identify where do they belong? Which segment do they belong in? Your investigation surveys are the ones that are helping you determine what your segments are. Your segmentation surveys are the ones that are helping you identify where the people coming through belong. Okay? So it's essential to your business with if it's open-ended or closed. Open and closed. Open is going to increase your drop-off rate. You don't want to have a ton of open questions because it takes longer and more time for people to fill that out. Maybe if somebody bought something from you and now you're trying to learn more about them, that's where they're going to take the time to invest. But when you're doing it with cold leads, they're not going to stay there. They're going to drop off. You're going to see a poor performance. So just be careful with that. 19, you don't want to have more than 3 to 12 questions. Not too short, not too long. It's usually around that range, between 3 and 12. You don't want to overwhelm them, but you also don't want to ask a few questions to where if you're going to give somebody a result, they're going to think, all right, this is baloney. Like, how do you even come to that result when you ask me 2 questions? You know what I mean? So you want something in the 3 to 12 range that's showing that you're listening to them. They're giving you the information you need, and you're able to then give them the results and show them where they are, what's going on in their situation. And obviously then you start to transition into what you're going to try to solve their problem with, which is you selling. But so 3 to 12 questions is usually where you're at. 20, use a progress bar. I see people asking surveys in these surveys and quizzes and assessments. I see them asking questions and they don't use a progress bar. People are going through the process, but they don't know where they are, right? If it's 7 questions, 3 of 7, 4 of 7, 5 of 7, help people know what's going on and how many more questions they have, or they may just be like, this is crazy, I'm out, I'm leaving. So you want to use a progress bar. You can use percentages. You can use 7 of 9 questions answered, right? 2 questions left. Just something to show them that you're communicating on how much more they need to do to complete the process. And number 21, which is one of the most important things, is do not be afraid to ask for help. Okay? There are experts out there that can help you, right? Obviously, I know what I'm doing. There are a lot of other people that know what they're doing. If you're not sure, go ask somebody that is doing it. Ask for help. Fast track your success. Rather than trying to learn it all on your own and go through all the heartaches of things not working, work with someone that can help you avoid all those mistakes and fast forward your success so that you can now focus on your business and find a way to serve whoever it is that you're talking to in the best possible way. Obsess over your customer, like Jeff Bezos says. So don't be afraid to ask for help. So that's it, guys. We got 21 mistakes marketers are making when they're building their surveys that you now can avoid by just following this simple checklist. So just to recap, number 1, you need to know the who. Number 2, you want to score your leads. Number 3, you want to make sure your segments are evenly distributed. Number 4, make sure that each segment is uniquely different. No 2 segments can apply to one person. Number 5, create some curiosity with your hooks, with the type of surveys you're going to be using. On your start page, be very clear and upfront with what's going on. What are you doing with the data? How long is it going to take? Why am I going to be taking this? What's in it for me? Number 7, when you're going to give something away for taking the survey, an incentive, make sure it's relevant to your specific product or service. If you give away an iPod, you're going to have terrible quality. You want to give away something of value to your tribe, your die-hard audience. Number 8, make sure that your surveys are responsive to all your devices. Number 9, 1 question per page. Don't have tons of questions on 1 page. Don't overwhelm the person when they're taking the survey and they see it and like, oh my goodness, and they'll drop off before they even start. Number 10, make sure you have a clear and concise outcome goal. Make sure you know what it is you want to get that person to do at the end of your survey. what action you want them to take. Book a call, watch a webinar, sign up for a training, or buy a guide or an ebook. Number 11, less is more. Don't ask tons of questions. If you're going through your survey and I asked you, well, why are you asking this specific question? And you can't give me an answer on how you're going to be using that right there and right then, take it out. You don't want to ask questions. Maybe I'll use it later. No, you don't want that. You want to use whatever it is that you're going to be using for the outcome to sell them, or whatever the goal is at the end. Number 12, don't lead the person in asking questions. Be very neutral. You don't want to get in the mind of somebody, how bad was that event? Because now they're thinking, well, obviously it was bad. Like, how bad was it? You don't want to ask that. So what'd you think of the event? Right? And then the answers will allow you to understand what their thoughts are and where they stand without any bias. Number 13, you don't want to use anything that's absolute, like all the time, always. Yes and no are you just don't want to do things where it's to the point where you're not really learning anything about what the user actually does, and you don't want to confuse them, right? So it's you want to use things along the lines where you give them options, where I do it once a week, I do it once a month, I do it once a year, etc. Give them options so that they can figure out where they fit in the answer, and then you can get a more clear understanding of who this person is. Don't leave any room for interpretation. When you're asking questions and you're giving answers, it's okay to have those one bold, like that's the word for the answer that you want to use, but then give a description if you need to, where there's no interpretation for the example we gave earlier, right? So, are you like Oprah? Well, everybody thinks of Oprah in a different way. So whatever the characteristics are that you want to apply to the person taking that quiz, you want to list that inside the survey so that they can read it and then be like, yeah, that's me. I'm that person who doesn't believe in failure, right? So number 15, no assumptions. Do not assume anything. Don't assume anybody knows anything, knowledge, etc. Okay. Number 16, don't ask two questions, two things in one question. You want to break it up. Number 17, you do not give enough options. You need to make sure everything is covered. You need to make sure that there's an option for every person that takes this survey, to the point where if it's the complete opposite of what you're trying to accomplish, then it's no interest, or under 1 year, like I described earlier, things like that. Number 18, the format is essential. Open and closed questions. Open is where someone's writing something in and giving you their thoughts and opinions and writing their language on how they describe what's going on, versus closed is like a multiple choice where you're giving the answers for them to choose from. Okay. Number 19, you want to have about 3 to 12 questions in a survey. No more than 12, really no less than 3. You want to make it seem like you're getting enough information that you can give them a result, and you also don't want to overwhelm them and just they're going to drop off, right? Number 20 is use a progress bar. Use something showing them every stage in the survey so they know where they are. They know how much time they've spent, where they are, how much they have left before it's over, okay? And number 21, ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That is the most important thing. You will fast track your success if you go to somebody that knows what they're doing. They'll be able to help you get all the value out of what surveys do for you, and you can focus on your business. And it'll fast track your success, and it'll increase your revenues, and it'll increase your engagement. You'll become relatable to your audience, because you're not just marketing to them one way. So hope this was helpful, guys. 21 mistakes to avoid when you're building your survey. Good luck. Keep on asking questions and serving your audience. Be well. Take care. Bye-bye.